And what a way for us to start. Straight away, a Deputy Minister of Sanitation is in the studio, and we have to do that conversion rate into speech. And Patrick Yabuama is also a member of Parliament for Okankwe Central, and he's here. You've gone unopposed, right? Oh,
I filed my nomination.
Ah, you just filed. Great,
yes,
great.
I did.
So when did you file?
On the 25th.
How many people are contesting you?
Well, I'll know today. Nominations closed yesterday, so I'm here to get a report from the constituency secretary or the chairman. We are looking into 2020, not about anybody contesting.
Yes. Anyway, the president also filed yesterday.
I was with him, actually.
Oh, great.
The entire Greater Accra Caucus Party in Parliament was with the president. The regional chairman from the 16 regions were all there. National officers were all there. And a huge crowd of party supporters also came to give support to the president. It was a touching scene, and it told the president that the party appreciates what he's done as a leader and what he intends doing when he wins the 2020 general elections, and the hope that he's brought to the entire country and the world at large, and that we all will support him, give him the necessary backing, give him the necessary encouragement to do 4 more years in strength, in tangible achievements, and with respect and the love that he's shown so far to the good people of Ghana.
Yeah, it looks like over the last 4 weeks, the president has gone into a 5th gear mode. Prior to the State of the Nation, had been to the Oti region, transitioned to the Volta region, and just making all kind of flourish speeches, left, right, center, as we'll call it in the parlance.
No, the president is a working president. I know that he's toured this country many times, more than any president. He's not the type who loves to sit in Accra. He loves to go around, inspect what his ministers and officials tell him, and also ask questions to ensure that what he told Ghanaians prior to the 2016 elections are all fulfilled. You see that he's put his vice president in charge of the economy, and the vice president recently gave an account of what he's doing with regards to the economy. When he goes around and it's about roads, the road minister is there. The trade minister is there to show him what he's doing with regards to 1D, 1F, when it's about one village. So he's a working president who wants to be a hands-on person to see and actually put his ministers to test and question them as to what they are doing in their various sectors and the reports that they present to him so that he's not misled.
And you are with the sector, the sanitation minister, deputy sanitation minister, and you're with the sector. The president seemed to paint a very rosy picture of great achievements in relation to especially what the conversion rates are for communities that have access or not in access to some of those key amenities that we talk about.
Well, the president did not paint a rosy picture.
He did not?
He was very modest in his presentation because we inherited a sector and he created a new ministry out of 2 major ministries, that's the local government and the Works and Housing Ministry, which came as a result of SDG 6, which is a global program. So the president needed to tell Ghanaians what we've been able to achieve so far. And he did not just say that, he presented data to support it. And the data was well prepared by officials on the ground across the country. The president did not even mention a lot of things that we've achieved and the programs that he supported the ministry to initiate, which includes the 200 million that he recently helped us and Parliament with my colleague here to approve for the Greater Accra region to fight flooding, waste, sanitation issues. The gas slip program that he helped us secure 45 million from the African Development Bank. the $31 million to support provision of water for over 500 communities in the Ashanti, Eastern, Volta, Oti, and the Greater Accra regions. The president, in the speech, also, I'm saying he was being modest because he didn't want to be flamboyant. The Yendi Water Project, yesterday, day before yesterday, the Finance Committee met on the 85 million euro Keta Water Project, which I believe today the report will be laid to serve the southern Volta region of Ghana. The president did not want to go into all that.
You know, when you go to, just before we came, because we were looking at the various areas, and you go to the website of the United Nations Children Fund, there's a phrase in one of the paragraphs there that it says Ghana has no clear urban strategy when it comes to sanitation.
The urban strategy is what I've told you, that the president recently...
How come the UN doesn't know?
Maybe they haven't updated. When was this? When was this?
The current site.
I don't think so, because we are working with UNICEF. They are partners in this ODF report, which has led to an increase of open defecation-free communities from 410 in 2016 to over 5,000 as at end of June 2019, December 2019.
Do you watch our Joy Clean Ghana campaign?
I'm encouraged by that, and we support every media house to support the fight and ensure that we have a clean society.
The pictures are usually not good. Do you go
to the... We do. We are in touch with our assemblies who are directly involved with sanitation management at the local level. They are doing their best. We are also encouraging them. We put them on their toes. We report. We send pictures. We send our monitoring teams around every day to ensure that we all live in a clean society. We all believe that water is life and sanitation is dignity.
All right. Thank you. You were prefacing this with the related issues of conversation on sanitation.
My boycott brother is in.
When we talk about the boycott just after his initial speeches. But I would want to ask why the boycott was in the first place.
Well, my apologies for my late arrival due to circumstances beyond my control. Thank you very much for indulging me. Let me say good morning to Honorable Patrick.
Good morning,
and good morning to yourself, and good morning to our viewers. Especially the very good people of the Tamale North constituency. Yesterday, after the boycott, we held a press conference at which we outlined, some of the reasons why we had to stage that walkout immediately after the national anthem was played. Among other things, we express our fear that the conduct of the president and his government have become a threat to the democracy that we all so cherish. And the president's closing remarks could have been meant as a joke, but to the extent that he sought to make what we believe he has been doing, in fact, into law, vindicates our position. I don't know if you get it.
I get your point.
What he has been doing, in fact, he sought to do same in law.
You're saying that his actions he's trying to legalize in a way?
Yes. If you heard him say, supported by the speaker after our walkout, that our seats that were empty should be taken over by the MPP.
Was that not just a comment in jest?
It tells you. That's what I'm saying. It may have been meant in jest, but it actually reveals the deep-seated, desire of the president to make this country a one-party state, to rule as if only his views and that of the MPP matter in this country. And that is not how a multi-party democracy works. Anybody who cherishes multi-party democracy will be frightened that a major opposition political party, has taken the step that we took. But he will not be excited that indeed he has an opportunity to entrench himself and his party in government. So for me, it may have been meant unjust, but it actually points to a vindication of our view that he seeks to do, in fact, he seeks to do what he has been doing, in fact, in law, by perhaps manipulating, like we have suggested, the electoral outcome of 2020 so that he can have a one-party parliament. Even when the NDC had the opportunity to do so in 1993, after the general elections, the independent candidates who won and were in parliament got the support of the majority NDC to have their views expressed and sometimes even taken. And the NDC bent backwards, did all that it could to get the NPP to come on board in 1996 so that the multi-party democracy could have meaning. But we believe that the president has become a threat to our democracy through his actions. He has acted like a despot. Look, for example, the media is no longer what it used to be. You can choose to, spin it however you want. But those who even work today do so with a lot of caution. Because you don't, and you are slapped with one, regulation or the other, or sometimes you are just shown raw power. Infringements, because of how fragile our democracy is, that media houses, suffered in the past and were helped to correct, because we all thought our democracy was so fragile and there was a need for us to help those media houses when they infringe the regulations, are now being used as reasons to shut down not all media houses, but those that are found to be critical. Because we are quick to be told that, for example, Radio Gold and Radio XYZ and others did not meet certain regulations. Yet, the Media Foundation for West Africa has adduced evidence to the fact that Oman FM and others fell in that same category, but they are still on air. So, clearly, everybody knows that a multi-party democracy works in an environment where free speech is encouraged. Never before have journalists in this country had to even flee, at least in the Fourth Republic, for their lives.
But in the Fourth Republic, we've had journalists in prison, and for which the criminal libel law was subsequently passed and now fully in place.
Well, I was not talking about imprisonment of journalists. I was talking about fleeing. Okay. When you want us to talk about imprisonment of journalists, I'll come there. But I was talking about fleeing. So I'm saying never before in the Fourth Republic have journalists had to flee for fear of their life, go into exile before perhaps returning. And your own journalist, Manasseh Azure, is an example.
He went into exile.
He went into exile. Didn't he? Didn't he? We are told he had to be taken out of this country. What is exile?
So we are told.
No. And
exile is a state of being back from one's native country, typically for political or punitive reasons.
Well, so he fled this country.
My goodness.
Into exile.
Okay.
And because of his safety. We have had Ahmed Swale murdered, and we believe, as we stated at the press conference, that if you look at everything surrounding his murder and the recent, answer to a question in Parliament by the Minister of, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice in relation to investigation related to the number 12 expose, we sincerely have come to the conclusion that his murder was to cover up and to and to make evidence disappear. Because according to the minister's answer in Parliament, the prosecution, as far as number 12 is concerned, has delayed because the star witness was murdered. And we don't see any effort by the government to unravel the circumstances behind his murder. And we are not the only people who have made that observation. The international agencies, including the UN, have made similar observations. So we are saying that those tendencies of the president and his government serve as a threat to our democracy.
For which you walked out.
For which we walked out. Again, we have seen the suffering of businesses as a result of direct government, policies or directives, especially targeted at opponents or people perceived to be opponents. I have not read the details of a ruling recently involving the Bank of Ghana and UniCredit. But at least the suggestion I'm getting from the reports is that there is a suggestion that UniCredit was wrongfully, closed down. And that is not perhaps the first time that we have heard issues related to complete show of power in the closure of some businesses in this country. We saw recently what happened to Raymond Archer. And you see, sometimes people forget. People forget. Raymond Archer is not just a businessman, and is not just an ace broadcaster, or journalist. We all know the role Raymond Archer played in ensuring that Nana Akufo-Addo did not become president in 2008. Despite all the machinations, which he, with a team at Radio Gold, exposed.
And for which his business was closed down.
I'm not saying so, but let's not forget it.
Have you read the statement from the Ghana Trade Fair?
You see, Roland, when it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's difficult to convince me that it's not a duck. Radio Gold shut down.
You're saying that the circumstances are just too true to be coincidental.
I'm saying that let's not forget in 2008, at a point in time, it was only Radio Gold that stood in the way of Nana Akufo-Addo and the presidency. This and all the machinations to go to court on a holiday, do an ex parte motion, and all to serve an injunction on the EC, all the machinations were revealed and exposed by Radio Gold. And who was the lead person? Raymond Archer. So when you have Radio Gold shut down for very flimsy reasons.
Is that why the minority walked down?
I'm telling you about the threat to our democracy. And I'm giving you these things as examples of the threat to our democracy. And you have Raymond Archer's business demolished in the manner that it was demolished. That's not democracy. Especially when the matter was in court and yet to be decided. That is not democracy. So these are some of the things that we say presents Nana Akufo-Addo as a dictator.
For which, why you walked out?
Yes, and we needed to draw attention to the world.
Okay.
That the people of Ghana are still alive and will respond to the call of the national anthem to resist oppressors' rule.
That's in our national anthem.
Yes.
Okay. Please, your reaction to it. Because you were in Parliament yesterday. Did you also go and occupy a seat which did not belong to you?
No, Roland, let me shoot straight to the point. I didn't, but my brother Suhuyini has made certain statements that are not factual. One, the president of Ghana is not a dictator. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come to Parliament to present or give an account of his presidency.
He says he's a despot, or is behaving despotic.
Let's be serious. Let's not play with words. We are in a democracy, and we are governed by the constitution of this country. The president came to give an account based on a provision in the constitution, Article 67 of the constitution, that at the beginning of every session, he ought to appear in Parliament to deliver a message to the nation on the state of the nation and before the dissolution of Parliament, which he did yesterday. Secondly, my brother Suhuyini talked about the fact that media houses were being threatened. shut down. The National Communication Authority regulates licenses and Independent Broadcasting Authority or agency under the Ghana Media Commission also is involved with the whole media landscape. If anybody or any media house has a problem, there are avenues to seek redress. Secondly, the constitution that governs this country under Article 167, with your kind permission, because 164 talks about limitation on rights and freedoms. If you look at chapter 12, it talks about freedom and independence of the media. But 164 says the provisions of 162 and 3, which talks about freedom and responsibility of the media. The Constitution also places a responsibility on journalists or media houses.
What does it say?
That the provisions of Article 162 and 163 of this Constitution are subject to laws that are reasonably required in the interest of national security, public order, public morality, and for the purpose of protecting the reputation, rights, and freedoms of others. So it's not
Are you quoting this to justify why we have to close down?
No,
or
to
the
say
NCA,
that,
or the NCA triggering
to let you know that there are institutions of state, and the fact that you are a media house, I'm not against censorship. I'm not for censorship, let me put it this way. That you operate a media house so you can go off tangent and do things. I don't believe that. You must also respect the rights of individuals and also respect procedures as set down by laws and regulations by the NCA, the Constitution, the Media Commission, and others. Secondly, let's go straight to the address given by the President. The NDC, led by John Mahama, Haruna Idrisu, Suhuyini, and co., showed the greatest and the height of disrespect and irresponsibility to the world yesterday. Suhuyini is talking about showing to the world. The President said, and I quote, in accordance with protocol, let me paraphrase, he mentioned the name of the founder of the NDC, who was seated in the chamber. You walked out on him. He mentioned former President Akufo, whom your leadership visited recently. You walked out on him. He mentioned the dean and members of the diplomatic corps, where you've been sending grievances and letters and all sorts of opinions to. You walked out on them, showing the world the kind of opposition we have. The President, as usual, was able to deliver his message within a 2-hour time frame, talked about his foreign policy direction, commensurated with the people of China, our Ghanaian students in China, Wuhan, who are under a serious problem of with the coronavirus disease. The President talked about education and the successes that he's achieved in the free senior high school implementation. The President talked about trade and industry, the setting up of the AFTA secretariat here, the fact that a lot of automobile companies will be setting up here from April and before the end of the year.
But you don't think their actions was just in protest, and he stated that. And it's not the first time minority MPs will boycott a constitutional event in which a president of the land is playing a key role, is present, and is also undertaking a role that is stipulated in the Constitution. Indeed, I'm just reading to you. On the 8th of January or the 7th of January 2013, we had minority MPP MPs absent from the inauguration of the then newly to be sworn in President John Dramani Mahama. It was the 6th Parliament.
The minority.
2013.
If I could finish with my submission, I'll come to that and let you know that it has no basis. let me address it. The minority at the time walked out because we're challenging the legitimacy of President Mahama at the time in the Supreme Court.
And they are also raising concerns about related constitutional actions to be taken by the Electoral Commission.
Subsequent to that, we participated in every State of the Nation address and proffered our views on the state of the nation. We never boycotted the legitimately sworn-in President Mahama after the Supreme Court had declared him winner of the 2012 general elections. That is a fact. The NDC has held press conferences on Galamsey, has held press conferences on Ahmed Swale, have held press conferences on a lot of things that they were trying to tell the world. But they had and they have one agenda. And the agenda is to put at the back of the minds of Ghanaians before December 2020 that the NPP, which would, God willing, win the election, rig the election. They are just preparing the minds of people. They know that if we go into the elections in 2020, based on the record that the president has presented, and based on the programs, there's no way the NDC is going to win a general election in this country. So this is a dress rehearsal of what they intend doing. But I can assure them that we have a commander-in-chief and a very competent security apparatus in this country to protect the peace and security of this country. They should not entertain any doubt about that we have a solid security system.
To suppress?
No, to ensure that life and property of well-meaning Ghanaians are protected. They have the right. They will go and register when the EC starts the registration. They will have the right and be protected by law to go and vote on December 7th and exercise their franchise. They cannot subvert the Constitution. And we want to put it across to them that we are going to ensure that the good people of Ghana are rightly protected. The message, the vision, the agenda, the manifesto promise that the president set out is delivered. We'll go out and campaign. The president yesterday filed his nomination, also mentioned to the good people of Ghana and the world that he's going to run the elections with Dr. Bawumia. And we know that we are going to win the general election based on our record and the message that we'll be sending out to the good people of this country. So I want to encourage my brother here and to assure you that we are prepared and ready to send a message loud and clear to the good people of Ghana that we are ready to win the election and start implementing our programs come 2021.
Now let's go back to Parliament. Take this from the President.
There is any contribution that ought to be.
The mention of Operation Vanguard would seem to be at the appropriate time to deal with the subject of Galamsey, the popular name that has been coined for illegal mining. When we came into office in January 2017, Galamsey activities were rampant in many parts of our country. Our lands, forests, and river bodies were being systematically degraded and polluted without any care. And this had been the case for several years. And indeed, the previous NDC government had given up the fight against Galamsey. We determined that this was an intolerable situation, and we owed it to generations yet unborn to tackle the problem and save our environment. I was very much aware that the lure of gold, once it takes hold, drives away all rationality. That is not a Ghanaian characteristic. It is a human characteristic that has been displayed all over the world throughout the ages. I was therefore not under any illusions about the size and scope of the problem we're taking on. But I was cheered by the support from a large part of the population that has also recognized the danger posed by the degradation of our lands and water bodies and the needless deaths of young people were being buried alive in makeshift mining pits. I welcomed in particular the media coalition which was formed in July 2017 that lent its support to the fight against Galamsey. As I have said on countless occasions, the battle we launched was not against mining. It would be unrealistic for anyone to suggest there should be no mining in Ghana. The Almighty, having blessed us with all these precious minerals, must surely be in agreement that we'd find ways to use them to develop our country and for the benefit of our communities. However, taking the minerals out should not lead to the destruction of our water bodies and forests or endanger the sustainable existence of our country. What is more, it was obvious to all that the small-scale mining that had always taken place in our communities had been transformed into something unrecognizable in our history.
And Mr. Yabuama, the president seems to suggest that...
I thought I would come in at this point.
Okay.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay.
I mean,
Really
I'm
taking
not a
over as the
spectator.
host of the
I'm not a
program.
spectator, please.
I wanted to come because since it was a
It's
government
been going on, and you know,
so he will talk about illegal
Yes, I
mining
will.
because the president seems to suggest that everything was rosy and the water bodies have never been cleaner than before. You know.
Well, you know what the truth is, but I will address that issue. But there's also the need for me to just respond to a few things that my brother, you know, made reference to. You see, he's a very fine gentleman, and so I can see his, you know, discomfort in the position that he finds himself trying to explain away what obviously is a very difficult situation.
Which is
Look,
what?
we have had democratically elected dictators in the world. So the fact that yes, I mean, what is the name?
How can that be?
Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe was elected overwhelmingly so many times, but when they list, you know, the names of dictators in Africa, he does not escape mention. You can disagree or agree with the reasons why he's added, but I'm saying that you have had, you know, democracies that have, you know, done things that are tyrannical in nature. For example, your regime have always bastardized Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah for the introduction of the PDA. But that was actually passed by Parliament. It was passed by Parliament. So don't say that because the president,
democratic.
Don't say that the president, because the president came to fulfill a constitutional requirement, that alone makes him a Democrat. And look, they are very quick to always refer to the actions of the NCA when you talk about the deliberate clampdown on the media. But I'm telling you that the world has seen through that trick. And so it is time to abandon that excuse. And that is why the Freedom House, which is an international agency that looks at media freedoms in the world, have stated in part of their report that, however, in a much broader range of countries, governments are using the more subtle tools of media regulation to restrict press freedom, maintaining a veneer of legality and pluralism that is less likely to draw attention or criticism from abroad. Manipulation of the regulatory framework allows leaders to either tolerate or rein in influential news outlets.
And you are certain this is the same thing that's happening
on the political situation, and permits even democratically elected governments to fortify themselves against future electoral competitions. Democratically elected governments, they use it to fortify themselves against, you know, future elections. And so that is exactly what is playing out in the case of Ghana. And we want to highlight it through some of the actions that we took yesterday. On Galamsey, look, I was astounded. I was shocked.
You were watching?
By the president's, you know, what do you call it? Position on Galamsey. We all know what the truth is. Our water bodies are more polluted. And you have been doing those reports. The turbidity levels are higher than it used to be. The environment has been degraded more than it used to be. We know. And you see, this is happening at a time, Roland, that we have had a government and a president who has had unprecedented support across board. This is not the first time we are fighting Galamsey. We know. But this government has been so lucky that media houses went out of their way to dedicate precious airtime in support of the president's fight. Civil society organizations, through their own budgets, allocated funds to support the president's campaign. Chiefs and opinion leaders all spoke and willingly did things on their own to support this campaign. And that is why the failure of this campaign is so much hurtful. And I'm sure they all did that because they trusted the president when he said he was putting his presidency on the line. And if for nothing at all, Roland, what happened to step aside whilst investigations continue? What happened to that? What happened to that? The president now wants us to believe that he is in control of nothing, not even the power to ask those he put in charge, who through their negligence or complicity have led to, like he said, a few missing excavators.
What do you mean by people he's put in charge?
He put them in charge. The interministerial committee was put in place by the president.
And you said you should tell them
and
what?
And if under their watch, like he himself admitted in that statement, a few missing excavators have arisen, doesn't he have the power, whilst he claims the CID is investigating, to ask those people who indeed, if they have left him down, but it's not through his own support, can't he just ask them to step aside whilst investigations continue? What happened to that? But he won't, because it is in nature, it is in his nature to protect and cover up
the president said a few
all his appointees.
The president
Yes,
said
he said a few
yeah, I don't think you've read the president's statement. I'll give it.
Yeah.
Because you walked out, you haven't read it.
You can. I watched the thing and I heard. I mean, I read the statement.
So this is what he said. It's that Operation Vanguard has been largely successful, and I'm reading this in part because he said many things. Okay. Operation Vanguard has been largely successful, even though problems still remain. And then he continues to say that mining with impunity on water bodies and in forest has declined. And then he says the community mining program has been well received by the population and young men and women who did not have the resources to acquire concessions, etc. And he continues about...
Let me help my brother. This is what the president said. Some excavators were also seized, and a number of them have gone missing. He didn't say...
a number of them have gone missing.
Please, I'm just assisting you.
Yes, so just a few missing. Okay, maybe a number and a few is what you are playing with.
So
but the thing is that the president himself... No, the president himself, you see, well, I will not debate that, but the point has been made that the president himself admitted that excavators got missing. Yeah, under the watch of people he put in charge. But you see, even when Amiral Anas exposed an appointee of his who shares an office with him because his office is at the presidency, the president didn't find it necessary to even...
The appointee decided to set himself aside.
No, the president, that's what I'm saying, that a president...
For lawful investigative bodies...
Well, and I'm saying that for a president who has put his presidency on the line for something as important as the war against Galamsey...
He should have done what?
He should be seen to be acting in ways...
So your position is that his actions are just not enough? What, so far, don't seem to show any commitment?
His actions amount to his action is disappointing to all those who believed that he actually meant to fight this. Because apart from, his inaction in dealing with people who they want us to believe have let him down, we have also heard about the fact that this was actually a scheme and not a campaign.
It's all hearsay. I hear.
Eko Ewusi and Frimpong Boateng. You want me to mention their names? I'll mention where I heard it from. That this was actually a scheme.
You heard it from them?
Oh, the video recording.
That is video
Yes,
recording.
the journalist tried to ask him. He never.
What I'm saying is that Echo will see from
You mean the leak video?
The leak video.
Video.
Where it is revealed that this was actually not a campaign against illegal mining, but this was a scheme to enrich party because party here sika. No. It is said on that thing that it was a scheme to make money for the party. So once all of us believed, and the media especially believed, that the NPP and President Nana Akufo-Addo meant well when they declared the fight against Galamsey and so supported it with their resources and their men, we are left with the evidence of failure, which is even more disappointing because it has been deliberately occasioned to enrich the NPP and its appointees.
In one word, how would you describe the section of the president's speech on illegal mining and Galamsey?
Very disappointing. Very, very disappointing.
Let me get your reaction on this.
A very encouraging statement, honest opinion from the president on illegal mining or Galamsey.
You've seen the water bodies.
I have. And I'll give you Mr. Mpoma of the Water Resources Commission. His number. His agency is under my ministry.
You're happy with what's going on?
Oh, I'll give you his number. You give you the recent data as inherited and what we've been able to do to date. We are not saying we are 100% there, but we've done a lot. That's why the president asked my friend Suhuyini, the 12,000 bent champagnes prior to the coming into office of the MPP were in this country under their watch. What did they do about it? So before Nana Akufo-Addo,
how many do we have in now?
We don't have any. 12,000 has been bent. And they were all operating during the era of President Mahama. And the NDC, what did they do about it? A serious government put in place a program, not an event, a process to stop this problem, which was going to affect generations to come. What have we been able to do? To amend the Mining Act to increase the punishment meted out to anyone who was found in this business of Galamsey. Secondly, after the legislation, foreigners were also banned in this activity. Thirdly, over 4,000 people have been trained in various skills within the mining sector. Various activities are ongoing, and with your kind permission, I will tell you a few. That the community mining program, the University of Mines and Technology at Takwa took on the role of training local people in sustainable mining. By the time the ban on small-scale mining was lifted last year, about 4,000 people had received the training. These are steps that the government has taken. One, amending the Mining Act to increase the punishment to anyone found in that area or space.
But the assessment will be how the water bodies
Two, to ensure that foreigners did not partake in illegal mining or Galamsey. 3, confiscation of champagnes, 12,000 of them bent, which were working during the NDC era. 4, excavators seized. Don't forget that the president made an admission that some had gone missing and that the police have arrested and charged some of the alleged culprits, and investigations are ongoing. No one will be shielded. Listen to the president. No one will be shielded, no matter what their positions or political colors. So it's rest on. Can I finish?
I understand. But what I'm saying is that, please,
let me. I will not permit you.
Okay.
I gave you the space.
All right, go on.
What is required of a responsible opposition and the media that I respect in this country is to follow through with the arrest, investigations, court proceedings, and prosecutions of all those who have been arrested. To give...
Mr. Patrick Yabuama.
Yes, please.
You say the program of action is a process.
Not an event.
Series of events for which we have a beginning and then an end date. Yes. Now
you didn't let me finish.
No, because what you're saying.
I'm saying that
I cannot let you land based on that, because You see, you're saying the media should follow through with the individual cases.
Yes.
The media too
Because
has
the
been,
president has
has
given
been following
an indication
through,
of what
has
the
been
government
following
is
through
doing.
with the stories of the beneficiaries of this process of events.
I commend you for that.
Which have indicated that the people are worse off than the beginning of this process of events.
Which people are worse off?
The beneficiaries of this intended policy of the president.
Which is what? I just want you to...
Their water bodies are extremely polluted
That's why
than before.
that's why I'm saying that, Roland. I'm going to give you Mr. Ampuma's number at Water Resources
I have
Commission.
you here. Deputy Minister of Sanitation.
Yes,
You say I should go.
because
the water bodies are, you're not worried.
I'm very worried.
Great.
I came back from
And that is
Takoradi
why
last Sunday.
Suhuyini and his folks are saying that
Suhuyini
the president should be seen, knowing that he even divided a ministry that was supposed to have been more
Suhuyini
responsible.
and his folks are on an agenda. Let's look at what the substance, what
Ghana
we are doing to ensure. But I'm telling you
we deserve better.
Before we came into office, Galamsey was there. There were 12,000 champagnes.
Everybody admits that. That's why the president came. That's why the president came with the
It was being fought. Yes, Galamsey was there, but don't make it sound like it was being... Oh, no.
We have taken the necessary steps through legislation, through an executive power, through actions to end that canker. And I believe that we are on course. We'll continue to fight it. People are difficult. People are stuck in their old ways, but you need the moral right and the power to fight it. And that is what the president
And you said the prosecution of those found to have infringed on it.
I believe in the president's statement and his commitment.
How would you describe his statement on Galamsey?
Very encouraging and bold.
Disappointing and very... Look, let's watch this. It's on the economy.
Roland, please.
No,
I think that
if I give you...
Speaker, in 3 years, we've reduced inflation to its lowest level, 7.8% in January 2020, since 1992. For the first time in over 40 years, we've had a fiscal deficit below 5% of GDP for 3 years in a row. For the first time in over 20 years, the balance of trade, that is the difference between our exports and imports, has been in surplus for 3 consecutive years. Our current account deficit is shrinking, interest rates are declining, and the average annual rate of depreciation of the cedi is at its lowest for any first-term government in the Fourth Republic. Our economic growth has rebounded to place Ghana among the fastest-growing economies in the world for 3 years in a row at an annual average of 7% GDP growth, up from 3.4% in 2016, the lowest in nearly 3 decades. The international investor community has recognized this development, resulting in Ghana today being the largest recipient of foreign direct investment in West Africa. The sovereign credit ratings agencies have upgraded our ratings and also improved the outlook for this year, notwithstanding the fact that it is an election year. This is a massive vote of confidence in the current management of the economy, as best illustrated by Ghana's successful issue of the longest dated Euro bond.
And that's the president there. And let me start with you.
I would like to come.
Oh, no, let me start with him. Okay, without due respect.
Suhuyini, this is not Radio Gold.
And
I know that's why you shut it down. You're so uncomfortable with it that you have to shut it down.
No.
Now,
Unfortunately, you can't shut me down.
No, unfortunately.
The economy and the way it's been managed at the fiscal levels, it seems to be the strongest point of this administration.
Thank you, Roland. You've said it all. The heartbeat of the Ghanaian, the country, and our very existence depends on our national economy. And it is very important that as a president, he always gives hope, gives the right data, figures to back his statement, which he did yesterday. People may disagree, but facts are sacred, comments are free. People can always go on the street and talk about whatever they feel or believe in. The president was in the House yesterday to give an account of the economy, and he referred to the vice president who chairs the economic management team, our hard-working vice president, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, town hall meeting on the state and health of our economy. 10 days ago, we were expecting a responsible, well-organized opposition to come out and debunk and punch holes into what the vice president did. So far, we haven't had any coherent rebuttals on the data, the facts as presented by the vice president, uncontroverted. So the president came yesterday and mentioned some of the successes that we've achieved. One, it will interest you to know that over 13 billion Ghana cedis was set aside to protect over 4.6 million depositors who were going to suffer for the collapse of some of the banks. Secondly, over 5 billion from next week will be dispersed to the rest of depositors in the savings and microfinance sector who did not have any hope but for this government and the president and his hard-working economic management team. We had DKM collapsing under the NDC. We had a lot of financial institutions who were all on life support. But we've taken the bull by the horn and we are going to pay and settle them. Secondly, if you look at the rate of inflation, lowest in 20 years, 7.8 since 1992. Surplus, the best in 20 years. GDP growth, sector by sector, we are on a positive tangent. It's not controverted. Data from the Bank of Ghana, from our international agencies, from Moody's, from Fitch, from Standard & Poor's, all went to support our, how do you call it, our international capital market search to raise the $3 billion to support the budget at one of the best rates for the economy. The CD with the NDC were holding weekly press conferences, very stable, and the rate of depreciation at an all-time best, according to a report that we have. All in all, we have a solid economic fundamental to be proud of. The investor community is proud of what we are doing. The Ghanaian business community, yesterday, a couple of days ago, I listened to Mr. Alassane Andani, and he was very, very emphatic that regulations and competence is helping to ensure a solid growth of the economy and the stabilization of the cedi against major international currencies. I believe that we are on track. We haven't done everything, and we believe that come 2021 and before the end of the year, the cedi will continue to show a lot of strength against other currencies. Economic data will improve. Investors will be encouraged at what government is doing. VW is coming, Hyundai, Volkswagen, and all the major automobile companies are all trying to set up here. It's not because of anything. It's because of the competence and the program of His Excellency the President, Akufo-Addo.
Have you gone down the streets of
I
your...
have. So,
Kaikwe Central, which communities are your name some of the
Abekan, La Paz,
all those selling on the street. They say business is good. It's at the micro level that Ghanaians have difficulties
Let me tell you.
And it's all because of, they say, decisions taken by the Bank of Ghana supported by government cabinet.
I do my door-to-door campaign.
And you don't hear these
let me tell you. And I was with the car dealers at Apenkwa, flat top area. They told me that, Honorable, to see our cars, you're top. That is at the you can go there.
In Ghana?
Yes. I was very, very happy with the honest assertion by the dealers there.
When the ordinary person on the street that we talk to on daily basis in stories say they can't now go to any microcredit institution or microfinance institution to get the 5,000, the 2,000 that they used to get, because the institutions have now seen that there's no certainty that the ordinary person can pay back in time.
It's not true, because they have also, with the good corporate governance model and structures that the Bank of Ghana
that's true.
has put in place
Yes.
to ensure that there's health in their operations. There's good corporate
Which
governance.
part of Abeka and Flat-Top did you go to? You went to speak to car dealers. Obviously, an owner of a car dealership is not an ordinary Ghanaian. It's not a suffering person.
Markets, I go to every place. They'll tell you that I'm always around the community, talking to them. And I can assure you that the economy is in good health. We are on a positive tangent, and we all live to see. Thank you.
Roland, before we tackle the economy, in one of your pictures, I saw that you showed the excavator. I wish you could put it.
The Galamsey excavator.
Yes. You know, look at the size of an excavator. And the president says a number of them got missing. Roland, be honest with me. If you have a watchman at home and you leave the watchman in the care of even your dog, and you come home and the watchman tells you that your dog is missing, and you report to the police to investigate, the following day, will you let the watchman come back to work? Let's just be sincere. It is that simple. Even before the police tell you that your watchman is responsible, I don't think you will allow your watchman to come back to work. So if the president leaves the interministerial committee in place, leaves all the people he appointed to be in charge of this fight in place, that amounts to dereliction of duty by himself as president. Because excavators don't have wings to just fly. Even if they do, some people were in charge of them. And so if for nothing at all, to assure all those who want us to win this war, the president should be seen asking those people whose negligence, before we establish if they were complicit, led to the missing excavators, to step aside. Because it is through negligence, if for nothing at all. I mean, investigations later will establish if they were complicit or not. But for now, we know that they did not play the roles they should have played. And that is why those excavators went missing. And they have huge equipment. Roland, on the economy, comparison, they say, exposes the donkey. In my language.
Which language is that? Dagbani.
You want to take a comparison from ABA
exposes the donkey. You see, when
speak Dagbani? Hausa.
Hausa a little.
Hausa, Dagbani. Tumasim.
Nah. Now, Roland, you see, when you find a donkey running, you think it is very fast. You think it is a very fast running four-legged animal until you put it against a horse. That's what we mean by comparison exposes the donkey. Roland, this is an economy that was managed with 7 billion Ghana cedis from oil revenue by a so-called incompetent hand. That so-called incompetent hand, before he left power, ensured that oil revenue increased to about 20 billion. So Nana Akufo-Addo, who says he's competent, has 20 billion now, as against 6 billion that the previous one had. Tax revenue was about 27 billion. Under the so-called incompetent hands. Before that so-called incompetent hands left office, he ensured the port expansion and other developments, which the competent hands has taken over, increased taxes, and now gets about 40 billion. Roland, with 6 billion and 27 billion as government revenue, the so-called incompetent hands borrowed only about 50 billion to top up, to run the economy. With 20 billion and about 40 billion revenue available to government, the so-called competent hands has borrowed about 100 billion. The incompetent hand with less resources managed to move Ghana, according to the international ratings, from negative to stable.
Negative
Now,
to stable.
now you have a competent man with more resources, triple the size of the resources, and he has also moved it just by one step. That's what I'm saying. It's comparison that exposes the donkey. So when you have a man running up a hill and doing 1 minute, 100 meters, doing 100 meters in 1 minute, and then you have another man running down a hill and also doing 100 meters in 1 minute, you know who is superior. You know who is superior. The one running up the hill.
I thought you were going to challenge.
You said we shouldn't interrupt.
Okay. Challenge the data.
No, I'm saying that we know who is superior. It is that comparison that will expose the donkey. Again, the so-called incompetent hands with less resources was working under certain rigidities, which he fixed for the competent hands. For example, the single spine that was signed by President Akufo was a rigidity under our economy. And with less money, he still managed it. Oil prices.
So your point of argument is that you accept that the fiscals are well.
I am telling you.
It's in context.
That is why, exactly. That's why I'm telling you that if a man was running up a hill, and doing 100 meters in 1 minute, if you have another man running down a hill and doing 100 meters in 1 minute or even 50 seconds, he does not deserve praise. Because it tells you that the man who was running up the hill and doing 100 meters in 1 minute, if he was the same man running down the hill, he would have perhaps done 100 meters in 30 seconds.
All right, it's here that I take some phone calls. Let's go to Abdul Ganiyu from Mankaregu. Abdul. Mankaregu. Abdul.
Yes, boss.
Do I have you from Mankaregu?
No, yes, good morning to you. And
okay, please, can we...
well, yes.
Just speak up a bit.
Yes. Good morning to you and good morning to our viewers out there. And good morning to the representative of New Patriotic Party, the Honorable Member of Parliament there, and my brother, Propaganda MP, Minority MP, Honorable Suhuyini. You see, what we are saying is that, Honorable Suhuyini, you just mentioned oil. The political party who got oil for you people to spend the money. Today, you are mentioning oil. Before we got the oil in this country, you ran out of parliament and said that the oil is not possible for Ghana to get oil in this country. Today, you people are sitting there.
But Abdul,
yes.
I expected you to speak on the President's State of the Nation address. You're here talking about the history of oil generation and the announcement.
I'll do that. You see,
I don't have the time, Abdul. Seriously.
NDC MPs in the State of Nation address boycott or walkout. We don't know what they even want to do. But what we know is that the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the whole world know that Akufo-Addo is a competent president in Africa. Because what he has done within 3 years is far better than NDC 8 years. Honorable Suhuyini knows it. What we are saying is that Northern region, Honorable Suhuyini, you yourself, in Tamalenov, you got youth and afforestation for your people. Tamalenov, is it true or not? If it is not true, you let us know before the program ends. You got it. They give you almost 100, what is the name? 100 and...
You mean under MPP?
Your people.
You mean under MPP?
Under MPP, that year 2019, you asked him. He got it for his consultancy youth organizer. To give his people. You ask him, he will tell you the truth. You see, what we know is that we are doing great job for the people of this country, not only MPP or NDC. We are doing it for, Ghanaians.
Abdul.
I am surprised, Roland, that you interrupted me to, reduce this discussion to such pedestrian levels. But you see, the point I was making is that...
we want to take...
The point I was making is that, Roland, you see, we don't challenge the figures like they did in the past. We will not compare it to Malata, like Dr. Baumia used to tell us. We trust our institutions of state. Like Dr. Baumia, who challenged the Fiscal service and asked us to give our wives, you know, single-digit inflation money. That was dishonest to the lowest. We won't do that kind of politics. Because when the data was, and Ghana has been going up and down in terms of how well we do with our data. So when it is good and you are in opposition, it does not mean that you should be dishonest like Dr. Baumia and say go to Mala.
Daniel, are you on the line?
Baumia has never been dishonest.
He's always been.
Daniel, good morning.
He's never been.
Okay. God bless you, Roland. God bless you, and enjoy you and Home Multimedia, and happy 25th anniversary too. All I want to say about the president's address is God bless the president, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo, for how far he has brought and how far he has been able to deliver his promises, most of them to Ghanaians. All I want Ghanaians to know is that what MP Alhassa Suhuyini is saying, the MP for Tamale North, actually he's talking about incompetency. The oil revenue that...
No oil. Speak on the State of the Nation address. Let's go to Adnan, Tamale. Adnan.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Don't speak on oil. Speak on the State of the Nation address.
Yeah, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
In fact, I want to say good morning to Honorable Suhuyini and the good work that he's doing over there. On the Statement of the Nation address yesterday, in fact, I was very happy when I saw the minority leaving the chamber. And my reason is that they are doing that to demonstrate an issue. And that is what we are all calling for now, about the new register.
You don't want the register to take place?
That is it. The new register. If the new register
is it not a call? Is it not a call by the Electoral Commission?
And I'm saying that if this register is credible and is able to elect the 270 MP that we have, including the president, then definitely we can equally go use it for the 2020 election. If the thing is not credible, that means the president for now is not also credible. Mm-hmm. So I think that it's a calculated attempt to suppress votes at the NDC strongholds, which I think is unfortunate. So every well-meaning Ghanaian should call for this, and then we should stand, you know, to let the Electoral Commission back down is an issue. Thank you very much.
All right, Adnan from Tamale is our last caller. Please conclude for me.
You know, so
I give you a minute.
Roland, I'm saying that we will not be dishonest like Dr. Baumia in the past and say that this does not reflect at Malata, so it is wrong. We won't do that.
So you accept.
But we must also not be unmindful of the warning that the IMF has been, you know, issuing. The fact that they are worried about our borrowing and they say we are almost at reaching the debt distress levels. The fact that they are complaining about government's own misreporting, which is very, very serious, because they want to dodge the fiscal responsibility, responsibility act of not exceeding 5% deficit levels. They are misreporting, and the IMF has exposed this, that our fiscal deficit is actually beyond the 5% that they have posted. And the IMF is cautioning against it. Again, that same IMF has warned that our international reserves are low, which again, you know, portends some trouble for us ahead in the future. And so even though we will not act dishonestly and claim that if you say the economy is good, give your wife, you know, interest rate, chop money, or visit Malata market, like our dishonorable vice president used to do. We won't do that. We will only point to the red flags that are raised, even as we celebrate this, you know, or as we acknowledge these positive signs of our economy. But we'll point to the red flags raised by the IMF in terms of borrowing levels, especially when we don't have anything to show for that borrowing, and the international reserves running low, and the misreporting by government. It is something we must be worried about.
A minute.
Thank you, Roland.
60 seconds.
Oh, yesterday...
You have had so much
yesterday,
time. I want to
we
protest
observed at the highest level an opposition that was not ready for power, that was disrespectful to the world, that was disrespectful to the constitution of this country, that was disrespectful to their own founder. Secondly, we saw a serious president who has delivered and has kept his promise. We saw a serious government being accountable to the country in conformity with the Constitution. We saw the delivery of the president in all the 7 or 8 areas that has generally improved the economy, in the area of foreign policy, in the area of economy, in the area of my brother's kingdom, where I love Dagbon. There's total peace in Dagbon. God bless you. Agri, trade, education, water and sanitation, security and defense.
Just be careful. Because the people of Dagbon are watching. And there are some developments that people are
there is relative peace in Dagbon.
Maybe you can say.
Yes, there's relative peace in Dagbon. The economy is on a sound footing. The vice president is an honest person. The president is an honest person. We have a competent team, and we are believing in the good people of Ghana to give us power come December 7, 2020. And say good morning to the good people of Okaikwe Central in my constituency. I wish them well and have a blessed day. God bless you all.
And also to the constituents of Tamale North. Suhuyini says that, well, all of you have a good day. I think
because he has been denying me the time. He wants to appease me by that.
Yeah. So the constituents of let me repeat it.
By denying me time.
Friends in arms. But I've had in the studio Member of Parliament for Tamale North, Alasan Suhuyini. Thank you for passing through. We tend to fight very often when we come. I think it's just one of the few times we've agreed on the way we've treated each other, or I have treated him on the show.
When they walk out on State of Nation, it wasn't only swearing in, they boycotted us. The State of Nation by President Mahama, they boycotted. But that one was not embarrassing. That was not disgracing President Akufo, who even wanted to attend the swearing in, and they went to block his house.
Look at that.
That wasn't That is all right.
Patrick Yabuama is the Deputy Minister Sanitation, Okaikwe Central Member of Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everybody.
You and this is your great